It's round 5 of the European Le Mans Series, and round 5 brings us to a fabulous place for motor racing. They've been racing here since 1921, through the Ardennes forest and through magical corners like Eau Rouge, Radion, and in more recent days, Bruxelles and Pouhon. Of course, the original footprint of this Spa-Francorchamps circuit used to be huge, down towards the Master Kink, and villages like Malmedy and Stavelot have become world-renowned as a result of this place. Great to have the ELMS back in 2019, and we're going to be visiting this place in 12 months' time as well, in 2020, because a calendar was released yesterday for the next campaign of the ELMS. But let's deal with the matter in hand. Welcome, everybody. My name's Johnny Palmer. Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com to my right, and we're going to enjoy in a moment or two some slightly extended qualifying for ELMS. These are normally 10-minute sessions, but adjusted to 12 minutes each for LMGTE, and then next it'll be LMP3s and LMP2s to finish off, all to determine a grid of 35-ish cars. I say 35-ish because we've already had drama this weekend, Graham.
We have. Good afternoon, everybody, from a sparkling Spa-Francorchamps. Very different scenes than we've had in recent years for racing here. Great sunshine, still a little bit cold in the air. A breeze. You can see the flags fluttering above the new pits where the ELMS cars are sighted this weekend. But yeah, a couple of dramas already. In fact, 3 big dramas for 3 major runners through the week. First, the G-Drive racing car in private testing earlier this week, comprehensively demolished and rebuilt around their team's spare tub after a major incident for Job van Uitert. He is fine, the car wasn't, up at Radion. A near copy of that incident this morning with Paul-Luc Chatin in the 28 Edex Sports Orica. I think, Johnny, that car is done for the weekend. That was a big hit. Waiting to see what will happen with the Algarve Pro car that, once the session went back to green, had a further incident, a little further down on the exit of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight with Henning Enquist at the wheel of the car. That car hard into the barrier on the left-hand side on the Kemmel Straight after seemingly losing control on the exit of Radion. Another heavily damaged car, but have seen pictures of that car undergoing attention in the garage. Whether or not they got away with that one and that car is recoverable in time for this qualifying session, or indeed tomorrow's race, we'll wait and see. But it's been another race weekend of high drama before we've actually gone racing. For now, though, it's all going to be about qualifying. It's going to be a half dozen cars in the GTE class, but a couple of cars missing from the season entry. No EB Motors, the 88 Proton competition car. I was on a chat on the way out the circuit yesterday evening with Christian Reed. They did test some drivers commercially. That wasn't coming together for them this weekend, but into the thick of things is going to be this car, the number 66 JMW car, the remaining 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche, which has been in the thick of things all season. It's a Porsche and Ferrari affair again this weekend, all on Dunlop tyres, of course. 66, as it has done for the season since Le Mans, carrying this fabulous Easter egg Le Mans themed and in part European Le Mans Series themed livery, designed by our good friend Andy Blackmore. Good afternoon, Andy, if you're watching, and Chiara, who's designed a little bit of parts, his daughter, but part of that livery. 55 Ferrari with a rather less complex livery, the typical deep green and white roof of Duncan Cameron.
The other thing that we've had to get our minds around is that not only are these cars bopped, as we would say, the balance of performance system which ensures that Ferrari and Porsche are on a level playing field, but there's also, regardless of manufacturer, success ballast for the first time this year in the ELMS as the green flag is now waved. And this is a first, I reckon, because in this new season of success ballast, every single car in the LMGTE category is carrying weight of some description. So the heaviest car is number 51 because that's the championship leader, and it's also had some good results in the last 2 races. By the way, it's all based on where you currently sit in the championship. If you're in the top 3, then you'll carry some weight because of that. Equally, if you finished in the top 3 at Silverstone, a little bit of weight because of that, and at the top 3 at Barcelona, because it takes into account the last 2 races and your current championship position. Championship position's actually on the screen now. So 77 points for the 51 Ferrari crew, Lucid Racing. 56, now 3 teams are on 56 points. Dempsey Proton, JW Motorsport and the 83 Kessel Racing squad. And they've been put into an order because one of those crews has had a race victory, the other 2 haven't, and it's actually come down to the fine lines to put 77 above of 83, because 77 got 2 second places before the 2 second places for the 83. So it's down to when you score the points, as in what point period of the time in the season you scored those points, that's actually splits some of the teams in the championship. I'll just finish the point about weight. So 51 carrying 30 kilos, 66 JMW Motorsport Ferrari 15, the 77 Porsche has 10, the 83 Kessel Racing Ferrari has 10, and then the 55 Ferrari and the 60 Ferrari both have 5 kilos in weight. So it's, I mean, when we get down to that level on the time and on the table, it's minuscule amounts, but nevertheless, it all counts.
The other point to make, by the way, about those 3 cars in second position on equal points is that is going to be critical, because there are 2 Le Mans spots in GTE in the European Le Mans Series. The top 2 cars, 2 teams in the point standings in the European Le Mans Series in both LMP2 for the first time in LMP2 and in GTE will get automatic invitations to the 2020 Le Mans 24 Hours as a result of their championship positions. And that tight battle for second place really matters to these teams. That is, you know, in terms of the sporting ambitions of the professional drivers, in terms of the personal ambitions and sporting ambitions of the amateur drivers, and in terms of the sporting ambitions and the commercial ambitions of the teams. Vital stuff.
Yeah, and if it was to remain that close to the end of the season with 2 more races, then we are going to be looking at countback, therefore. And as I say, Dempsey Proton Racing judged to be slightly higher than JMW Motorsport and Kessel Racing in the championship table, because they have had 1 race victory, whereas JMW and Kessel Racing are still waiting for their first top step of the podium. But interestingly, JMW Motorsport have had exactly the same set of results as the 83, the girls in the Kessel Racing Ferrari. It's just they've been in slightly different order. And JMW bagged their 2 second places at Monza and Barcelona, and therefore the earlier in the season you get the better results, the better it is as far as the standings are concerned. So 10 minutes normally, 12 minutes because this is a 7-kilometre circuit, and it gives you just a little bit of extra time to do the outlap and then come round through the bus stop chicane to commence your flyer. All these cars based in the Grand Prix garages, and we're using the start-finish line that the Formula 1 Grand Prix uses as well. So
we're now on to flying laps. Quickest in the first sector, Andrea Piccini in the number 60 Kessel Racing car, which are a couple of cars with a little bit wayward on the track limits front, so it will be interesting. The first one to be pinged for that was actually on the outlap, doesn't count anyway. That was the 83 car, the all-female crew car. Been very impressive this season, the trio of women aboard the number 83 Kessel Racing car. Great initiative from Kessel. The girls have already raced with some honour indeed at the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Through Curve Paul Frere goes the 66 then, with Jeff Siegel at the wheel. Jeff's got 15 kilos of weight for company as well, no doubt strapped in effectively where the passenger seat would sit in a road car. I think there are 3 different places that you can put the weight. Ooh, a little bit of an error there into the chicane for Matteo Cairo. He misjudged the braking point on possibly coolish Dunlop tyres as well. Still made the corner, but certainly lost some time. And we're down to just 7 minutes remaining now.
2:15.380 from Alessandro Pierre Guidi aboard the number 51 Luzic Racing car. 3/10 back to Matteo Caroli with that error into the bus stop. Half a second back from that lead time, Matt Griffin in the Spirited Race car. Then it's over a second back to Jeff Siegel and Rahul Fry. Just watching there, and Andrea Piccini pops up third quickest, just edges Matt Griffin back. So Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari, the top 4 right now.
And in free practice, it's been Porsche fastest, hasn't it? Despite the Porsche being up against 5 Ferraris, the Porsche has come out with the better lap times in the first session. Actually, no, I beg your pardon, I'll correct that because I'm looking at the wrong results. That's that's Silverstone. Here at Spa, yes, I was right in that free practice 2 was topped by Porsche with a 2:15.5, and then in free practice 1, which was held on Friday, top of the shop was again a Porsche, 2:16.9. I'm going to guess that those 2 times were Cairoli's, but Riccardo Pero, we know, is very rapid as well. So despite the Ferraris being more numerous, this Porsche with the blue door mirrors heading towards the camera at the right-hander at Fagnes does seem to have the measure on the prancing horses.
Yep, Jeff Siegel loses his flying lap time for the track limits. Matteo Caroni goes to the top, meanwhile leapfrogs the Alessandro Pierguidi, but that's because Pierguidi lost his lap time before track limits. So those adjudications coming through at a pace at the moment. So at the moment, Cairoli from Piccini from Griffin, it's not because those cars have gone quicker, it's because Pierguidi has lost his flying lap time that gave him that provisional pole position just for a few moments. He's around there lapping competitively, so we'll back up the order in just a few seconds' time, I've no doubt. But right now, it's a 77 car from the 60 car at the top of the order with 5 minutes of this 12-minute session remaining.
And Kessel Racing Ferrari heading out of Blanchimont now to head towards the bus stop chicane. That is the 83, that's the 60 rather, with the 83 just a bit further up on the road. It looks like we're going to get to a natural interval point here, where one set of Dunlops are switched for a newer set, and the track is completely empty now because everybody is in the pit lane. All 6 GTE cars choosing this point. This is not a mandatory stop we have to do in qualifying, but you could be forgiving for thinking it was such. And now the cars will move on their way again. Not going to be in a scenario that is used at the Spa 24 hours where you have to use both pit lanes effectively. Both pit lanes are in use because we've got the Michelin Le Mans Cup at Spa this weekend as well. They are based in the endurance pit lane, the downhill run to Eau Rouge. But the JMW Motorsport number 66 will pierce back onto track immediately after La Source. And now this is the warming up lap, effectively ahead of another quick run.
So with under 4 minutes to go, neither the 51 nor the 66 have yet set a flying lap time due to track limits on their first attempts first time around. New tyres aboard both cars now. Matteo Caroni, in the meantime, is in the pound seats. He's there, top of the shop, a couple of tenths clear. Andrea Piccini, Matt Griffin. It's close stuff. Top 3 cars in the 215s. And Michael Frey is the 4th car to have set a time in this session. Messy, really, thus far. So what have we seen before in these situations? It all happens in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I think it will neaten up now that everybody's got brand new Dunlop rubber to play with. 2:15.675 is the time to beat then. 0.2 of a second the margin, and then it's a further just 0.04 of a second back to Matt Griffin's effort. But we haven't yet seen times from Alessandro Pierguidi in the Lusick Racing Ferrari number 51 or Jeff Siegel in the JMW Motorsport Ferrari. Pole positions already this year have gone to the 77 Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche on 2 separate occasions. The Porsche taking pole at Paul Ricard at the start of the year and Monza the following race. There's been a pole for Kessel Racing's number 60 Ferrari, and last time out at Silverstone it was the turn of the 88 Proton Competition Porsche to take pole. That car is not in Belgium. So, but could it potentially, the pole, come from a car that we haven't seen on the front row to date? 77 at the moment in the box seat. No change of drivers, of course. They'll stick with their fastest pilots, generally speaking. But now, just 2 minutes to play with.
Extraordinary, really. We've not seen Lusic Racing with a pole position this season with the talents of Alessandro Pierguidi on demand for them.
Yeah, 2 wins, a 3rd place and a 4th place, but yet,
no pole.
Yet to take a point for pole. Lock up there for Jeff Siegel, who reaches La Source, and the front right tyre stationary briefly, so a big puff of smoke as a result of that. I'm sure he'll not enjoy now the rest of this lap because it will start to cause a vibration.
I think this is going to be his only shot.
There is the danger of that, because we've only got 90 seconds left on the clock.
Don't think he's going to get round and start another lap here. It's going to be very, very tight if he does.
Certainly behind him on the road, Rahel Fry. This is her last chance in 83, and then there are cars even further back than that, including Matt Griffin in the Spirit of Race dark green Ferrari, and the other Kessel Racing entry that's being driven by Andrea Piccini. That car currently second on the grid, but the Porsche is nursing a 0.2 of a second advantage over 5 Ferraris behind Cairoli. Not hanging around here, heading out of turn 9, Speaker's corner, as it's colloquially called. And again, a bit of a tank slapper, a mini tank slapper that the Italian controlled nicely.
Top 4 all quicker than they have been before in the first sector. Quickest of the lot, though, is Andrea Piccini, second place in the order at the moment, but he is 0.3 of a second up on Matteo Cairoli in the first sector, and a gap for pole position at 0.2 of a second over a full lap. So this is going to be critical moments. Second quickest, by the way, at the moment is Matt Griffin, just thousandths ahead of Rahel Fry. Watching those second sector times that are going to come ticking in at the moment. It's a purple sector from Matteo Cairoli we're watching now, but what can Piccini do? We'll find out in just a second or two's time.
Through campus goes Rahel Fry. Right behind her still Matt Griffin in the 55, and the 60 car could yet have a big say on the order.
Ooh,
and that's the last car on the road. Checkered flag being waved then. Cairoli, can he improve?
Yes.
A 2:15.088. That's nearly 0.8 of a second quicker than anybody else, and immediately up to second place with no time previously, Alessandro Pierguidi. So literally one lap and he's done. Jeff Siegel across the line does improve, but still 6th.
Watching Andrea Piccini, I don't think he's done enough in the second sector to trouble pole position. Can he get onto the front row? Coming through the bus stop now, gets the power in.
And will cross the line. To stay third, or to stay third is the answer to that.
Look at that, 0.6 of a second though was the gap.
Yeah, 0.383 of a second was Pierguidi, slower than Cairoli. 0.389 back to Andrea Piccini. So, as Graham says, 0.6 of a second, and actually, Cairoli's had a lap deleted. So that will change it again. Matteo Cairoli must have had that fast lap deleted, and our celebrations continue down at Proton, down at Dempsey Proton Racing. I don't think they've realised yet, because on my timing screen, Alessandro Pierguidi is going to be given pole position.
By 0.6 of a second. With the one lap that he actually managed to get, and he gets his first pole position of the season for Luzic Racing in the European Le Mans Series.
Cairoli's back at the sharp end now,
right.
So
now,
is there a dispute going on? I think this is going to be possibly something to be decided in the stewards' room. It's all to do with track limits, we must remind you.
No, I think they deleted the wrong lap. It's the 60 car that's had a lap deleted.
So no longer do we have that 0.6 of a second
correct.
gap.
So the change that's just appeared on our timing screens, Johnny Palmer, is Andrea Piccini stays third, but drops back in terms of the timing, and just edges Matt Griffin for third position. So it's Cairoli with the number 77 Dempsey Proton car is on pole position. Alongside him on the front row in class will be the Luzic Racing number 51 of Alessandro Pierguidi, Andrea Piccini in the 60 Kessel, and Matt Griffin in the 55 Spirit of Race Ferraris on the second row. Then Rahel Fry and Jeff Siegel will complete the 6-car order in LMGTE.
So forgive us for that confusion, and quite rightly, some excitement as well, because we have had numbers of cars having times deleted through the course of the day. So it certainly wouldn't have been unheard of to have Cairoli's time deleted, but now the grins are back again. I'm sure they were slightly pensive a couple of seconds ago, but Cairoli put back to the top, and Andrea Piccini in his number 60 car has his best time deleted in the all blue with the orange stripes Ferrari. So came so close, briefly given a front row start and only by 0.06 of a second, but eventually had that time deleted. So the margin between Lusic Racing and Kessel is that little bit larger. But let's not take anything away from Matteo Cairoli. He's topped every session so far this weekend, and the 77 Dempsey Proton Racing Ferrari then flying the Porsche flag is nearly 0.4 of a second quicker than the Lusic Racing 51 crew. Still chasing that first pole of the year then, despite leading the championship by 21 points. Then it's the 60 crew in third, Spirit of Race off fourth. Kessel Racing with the number 83 Ferrari will start from fifth position. They are equal third in the championship, remember, and it'll be Jeffrey Seagull in the 66 Ferrari to start from sixth position with his teammates Wei Lu and Matteo Crisoni. So that's a sign of things to come in the remaining two sessions. We are in for a good early afternoon. LMP3s will be next, again, for a 12-minute qualifying session, and then LMP2s to finish off this segment of the day. Now, 17 on the entry list, LMP2 is certainly 2 down, possibly 3 down. It will be 3 down.
Well, we know the Thunderhead by Carling car is not here. That Jack Manchester's shunt at Silverstone, the team requiring repairs to that car as well. They loaned a chassis from a WEC team that was required back with that team before this weekend. But we'll see the Carling car back at Portimao.
Yeah.
But the other two, we wait and see what emerges. For those that missed the explanation as to what we're talking about there, two significant incidents for LMP2 cars in free practice this morning. One that certainly looked to be pretty serious for the car. Paul at Chatham, by the way, was sent to the medical centre, unsurprisingly, after such a major impact, but was seen climbing out the car on his own steam. That was the 28 Edex Sports Orica into the barriers hard, driver's right at Radion, at the top of Eau Rouge, of course. And then seconds after the race went back to green, not dissimilar place, a little further down the Kemmel Straight, but a totally different accident befell Henning Engqvist in the Algarve Pro car. That car front end first after seemingly losing the back end at the top of Radion, and front end first into the barrier driver's left, the Kemmel Straight. We'll wait to see what can be done, if anything, with those two cars. Again, by the way, I should say Henning seemingly out the car and okay. The thing that really matters.
So the GTEs are done and dusted with their qualifying session. 14 LMP3s about to get going, but we must get some reaction first of all from that cut and thrust session. Let's hear from Matteo Cairoli now with Charlie George.
Well, it's confirmed, third pole position of the season. A beautiful Spa with the sunshine. How doesn't get better than that, does it?
No, it's great. I mean, Spa, I love Spa. You know, every time I'm coming here, I just feel free. You know, driving here. It's you know, it's my favorite track of the calendar in the LMS, and I have to thank the team because, like, every time they're doing a massive job on the car, it's super competitive most of the time. So it's also big thanks to them, and I'm really cannot wait for tomorrow.
And keeping all of those Ferraris behind you.
Yeah, actually, I mean, with the first set, I have to say that I was a little bit under pressure because Ale was pushing quite a lot. So he forced me to let me do some mistakes. In the end, I did it. But with the second set, everything worked perfectly. So I could put a lap together, and that's why we are on pole today.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done to the 23-year-old Italian from Como, and that's a third pole position of the year for the 77 Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche. So they're without the sister car this weekend, the 88 not here, but the 77 has been the sort of tried and tested machine that has done loads of ELMS races through the last few years, and still very, very quick.
I'd say what a joy to watch that young man's career blossom in the European Le Mans Series for you and I, Johnny, and for followers of the LMS. Great to see a driver in his pomp, enjoying his sport as much as Matteo clearly does, and doing it with sporting gestures as well towards his colleagues in other teams. So next up, it's going to be a substantially larger gaggle, 14 LMP3 cars for their 12-minute session. And it will be 14 composed of 5 Normas, 9 Ligers.
And it is Inter-Europol competition that lead the championship after 4 races so far. They had a win at Barcelona, a couple of second places and a third, but again, it's that relentless consistency. Never been off the podium, the number 13 Inter-Europol competition car, which is again being driven by Martin Hippert and Nigel Moore in their Ligier. So we talk about the dominance of the Norma M30, seemingly in this format of the weekend, the qualifying and the single lap pace, but across race distances, Inter-Europol and the number 11, which is another Ligier from Euro International, have proven to be the best point scorers. 76 so far to the Polish squad, number 13. 7 points back from that, the American flagged Euro International crew, who are Mikkel Jensen and Jens Pettersson. They're on 69 points, and then in third position on 53, it's the United Autosports crew, another Ligier, Wayne Boyd, Garrett Grist, Tommy Erdos, who are third in the championship on 53 points. So the best Norma, actually, when it comes to the championship positions, the ultimate squad of Mathieu and Jean-Baptiste Lehay and Francois Herriot, who have accumulated 49 points to date.
You're looking at the number 10 Oregon team car, and shown remarkable pace the last couple of races out, but really dire luck in terms of their racing. I don't think we've seen young Gustas Grimbergers actually in a race the last 2 rounds. I don't think it's made it into the car. I'm hoping, by the way, we'll see at some point this weekend on the cameras we've seen in free practice being tested, which is a camera on a swivel inside the Oregon car, where we can actually see the cars coming by, the LMP2 cars coming by, with the camera alongside the driver, watching LMP2 cars pass to the side and then in front. So a spectacular camera view we've seen tested out here. We're not going to get the opportunity to see that in race conditions. We'll see.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open. LMP3 qualifying has started.
So local time, as you can tell, is 12:40. This session due to run till 12:52. They're all slightly awkward times because these are 12-minute sessions, and the final session is due to start at 2 minutes past 1 through till 14 minutes past 1. And then the race tomorrow scheduled for 12:30 local time through till 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, and weather permitting, we'll get the full 4 hours in this year, whereas last year, unfortunately, we had to call it short just after the 2-hour mark, and only 50% points could be awarded.
Out they come streaming out, and a couple of cars joining the session a little later, including the number 13 Inter-Europol car, the championship leaders, of course. In England, it is into United car, by the way. He's joined this weekend in the absence of the injured Mike Gouache, and again, Mike, good luck with recovery from those injuries from horrible accident at Silverstone. He's a very fit guy, Mike Gouache, and I'm sure he'll be back very quickly. Joined this weekend by Andrew Bentley, who's been a regular part of this scene at United Autosports down through the years.
Yes, but this will be Andrew's first ELMS weekend.
I think you're right.
Tracking back through his recent ACO rules racing, been involved in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
I think he's done a couple of races with the team in the UK LMP3 Cup as well.
Yes, the LMP3 UK definitely. I think 2 seasons in that, and some good results. That doesn't exist anymore, does it?
It doesn't.
Sadly,
no.
That's really unfortunate. But yeah, Andrew Bentley, I think, present for both of the seasons that did take place. Meanwhile, Tony Wells, Colin Noble's car, being driven by Colin Noble up through Radion corner, and now through the right-hand kick, foot buried to the floor, and time to make the odd bit of an adjustment in the cockpit as you head down the Kemmel Straight. Say down the Kemmel Straight, you're still climbing at this point through towards Les Combes, and then hit the brakes hard to muscle the car first of all well over the first curve, a little bit of curve through taken through that left-hander, and this is the most crucial of the 3 corners really, because this determines your run downhill towards Bruxelles, the right-hand hairpin.
Some really interesting gaps out on the circuit. This car, you see nothing ahead of Colin Noble. Behind him, but some distance behind him, is Wayne Boyd in the United car. The last car's released from the pits as we've got the car off the track. That is the number 5 car. This is the car that was in trouble yesterday with a major fire, and the team had done a fantastic job to rebuild that car. Very toasty it looked as well, fuel leak I believe. The car just regathers itself to start the lap. But we've got 3 potentially very serious runners here, 4 with substantial gaps in front of them, so clear air for the number 2 United car, the 7 Nielsen car, the 13 Inter Europol car, the 10 Oregon car, and actually the YMR car as well, all with clear air ahead of them, and will get, I think, pretty unfettered runs here for the remaining 9 minutes.
Over the line goes Nigel Moore then in the number 13 Inter Europol competition car. This is the one that's relatively late to join the session, and that was by design rather than any problem. It's running now just out of La Source and down the hill towards Eau Rouge, but deliberately I think the Polish squad picking a relatively vacant portion of the track, although not very far up ahead from Nigel is Damiano Fioravanti for the Oregon team, number 10. And it may well be that Fioravanti actually allows Nigel Moore by on the Kemmel Straight. Meanwhile, the Ultimate squad, number 17, 4th in the championship. Mathieu Lehay normally put in for qualifying duties, and that's exactly what's happened for this session. Just allowing the tail to wag a little bit there coming out of the right-hander at Campus. Now through Curve Paul Frere, building the speed all the time. Blanchimont, the next sequence of corners, the double left-hander for Mathieu Lehay.
Plenty of cars out there, plenty of cars going quickly. Let's get the feeling this is going to be a very close run thing again. There's one thing you do know around these Formula with the kind of spec drivetrain, the driver and the preparation of these cars really, really counts, and we've seen some real emerging talents through LMP3 in recent years. And we've still got plenty of them here.
Yes, the true differential is the man or woman behind the wheel, quite frankly, because it's relatively similar equipment. Obviously there seems to be a big gap between the Ligier and the Norma's performance in qualifying at least, but that is bridged when we get to the racing period of the weekend. Norma's to the front, although Mikkel Jensen wants to say otherwise and splits the 2 early pace setters, but it's the number 9 Real Team Racing car of David Drew that is quickest so far, 2 minutes 13.185.
He's got 8 tenths over Mikkel Jensen at the moment. The Euro International car has been a pace setter all season. I've always had the luck, but my gosh, they've got some pace with young Mikkel Jensen. He's just a 10th and a half ahead of Mathieu Lehay. They're the top 3, Norma, Ligier, Norma. There are blue and purple sectors all over the place here. This is going to be reshuffled and recast with every car that passes the start-finish line for the next 6.5 minutes.
Heading up towards Les Combes is Mikkel Jensen then, just 0.8 of a second away from David Drew's lap, and this is really just everyone setting down a marker, and now they'll start to take a few more risks getting later on in the session. The tyres are well and truly up to temperature, all on a Michelin control tyre, remember, in this category.
Colin Noble pops through for his first fly. Remember, with that clear track ahead of him, he's second quickest, 6 tenths back from David Drew. He puts the number 7 Norma ahead of Mikkel Jensen. He still has a completely clear track ahead of him with under 6 minutes to go.
David Drew, on the other hand, might be running the risk of catching the number 6 car, which is being driven by Ross Kaiser. There's a big enough gap between those two right now, certainly to complete this lap. Yeah, Ross can't be seen away in the distance then, already heading through the left-handers at Blanchimont, and then further ahead than that is Mathieu Lehay, who again could be up for an improvement here. 2 personal bests through the 2 sectors on this lap.
Lehay is about to complete his lap. He goes second, but it's going to be a much improved time, I think, for David Drew. So it's another man, 3rd man into the 2:13s. It's Drew from Lehay, from Noble now. Mikkel Jensen is going quicker this time. It's a further improvement and a big one from David Drew to 12.585, 7 tenths to clear now with Mathieu Lehay. But with other cars behind making improvements, including Colin Noble, including Mikkel Jensen. Jensen goes 3rd, 2:13.4, so doesn't overhaul Lehay or Drew, does leapfrog ahead of Colin Noble, but Noble again is improving. It's quicker this time, around 2 of the 3 cars at least ahead of him through sector 1.
0.7 of a second is the gap between David Drew and Mathieu Lehay. Then it is just a 10th of a second back to Mikkel Jensen's effort in the fastest of the Ligier so far. Nigel Moore goes 5th in the Inter-Europol Championship, leading Ligier.
He'd lost his first flying lap time, so this is Nigel's first one that's going to hit the board and stick there, I think. 13 car up into 5th. Norma, Ligier in the hands of Jensen, another Norma, then another Ligier in the hands of Nigel Moore. Real Team Racing, Ultimate, Euro International, M Racing and Inter-Europol. That order is messed with a little because Colin Noble goes back up to 3rd position, leapfrogging Mikkel Jensen. It's Norma's 1, 2, 3 now. The 2nd, 3rd and 4th place cars in the order, very closely spaced, but it is David Drew that is absolutely bossing this right now.
David Drew making everyone else look pretty ordinary at this stage, because take him out of the mix and we'd have an awesome fight for pole position. The only difficulty is the number 9 car is 7/10 of a second quicker than everybody else, but behind you're talking hundredths of a second separating Mathieu Lehay, Colin Noble, Mikkel Jensen, Luca Leggeret now into 5th place for M Racing, so he's jumped ahead of Nigel Moore. Damiano Fioravanti in the low 2-minute 14s, whereas all those ahead of him either in the mid 2:13s or in David Drew's case in a mid 2-minute 12.
Yeah, Leggeret is not going to improve this time around though. That lap time is on now is going to be deleted. We saw that through Speaker's Corner, car running wide. Here though, Mathieu Lehay doing what he can to put the pressure on. He's halved the gap to David Drew.
Good effort there from the experienced Frenchman. So again down into the 212s. 212.9 for Mathieu, but he's 0.396 of a second away from David Drew's effort. Luca Leggeret having the previous lap deleted, did you say,
no,
Graham?
this lap.
This one, right.
This lap. Needs to get ahead of this car, get a clear run. This is number 5 car. This is the fire damage car from yesterday in the hands of James Winslow, who's the man aboard. A frightening conflagration hit. James is not letting the Norma by. Why should he? Here's the number 7 car. This is Colin Noble looking to improve his time. 2:13.3 at the moment. Damiano Fioravanti is the latest man to improve. He's up into 5th position. Nigel Moore pits the 13 car from 7th. Fioravanti, by the way, set that time with the fastest 3rd sector of the session. So we have the top 5 inside a single second. Seemingly dominant at the moment, David Drew. Noble did improve his time, but only marginally. 7/10 now back from the pole setter, 3/10 back from Mathieu Lehay, and still in absolutely clear air. The team have done a fantastic job here to give him the very best opportunity he's got. The one thing he's not going to get is a slipstream from anybody.
No. That's the difficulty. Colin Noble's car grounding out then as he heads through Eau Rouge. That's the pressure point, of course, and the skid plank underneath the car gets a right old pounding at that compression point. Then the climb up the other side and over Radion. So far this year, by the way, we've had pole positions for Oregon. That seems a long time ago. Paul Ricard at the opening round. 2 poles for M Racing at Monza and Silverstone. And the other pole sitter, Euro International, Mikkel Jensen, setting pole at Barcelona for the night race that started at 6:30 local time and all the way through till 10:30. David Drew reaching the end of this current lap, 43 seconds left on the clock. He'll squeeze one more out of it.
Yep, Mathieu Lehay closed the gap again by just a few hundredths of a second, but David Drew stretches it by 3/10. It's 0.640 of a second, and now only Mathieu Lehay, for the moment, is within a second of that pole position. Mikkel Jensen will come through to complete the lap. He closes the gap a little, stays 4th, and will get another lap. Who else is going to get through? Well, this will be Colin Noble's final opportunity, I'm sure, because there's only 12 seconds left on the clock. So who can make an additional lap pay? David Drew, with a purple sector at the end of that lap, over half a second clear now of his rivals. The checkered flag is out. The cars we're looking at on screen here will complete their run at this moment. Who's going to improve for many of them? The Oregon team car doesn't, stays 5th. Also having completed the session, the number 3 United car in the hands of Christian England. He's down in 12th position. And the 360 racing car of James Winslow, that stays 13th. Into Europol's Nigel Moore, dropping big down the order as others have improved. He's going to be no better than 7th because he's in the pits at the end of this session.
Colin Noble crosses the line, does actually improve his time, but not his position, so stays in 3rd. Yeah, okay, the improvement was small, and actually is going to be more or less exactly a second slower than David Drew if Drew doesn't improve. Who's next across the line? It'll be the number 2 car of Wayne Boyd, who will stay in 8th position in his Ligier for the Ulsterman. And we're expecting, well, a long gap now before Mathieu Lehay and David Drew. They are the 2 drivers occupying 2nd and 1st, respectively. How much more can they give? Well, it's a personal best for Mathieu Lehay through the middle sector. The first sector, though, was questionable.
Lucas Legeret has potential to make a bit of a move up the order from 6th position with this, his last flying lap. It looks to me as if David Drew has got this one pretty much under control. I'm just watching the hawk for the middle sector from Legeret, but that looks to be the only effort here that's in any way going to threaten pole position. For the man crossing the line now to complete his qualifying run. A very impressive set of times it's been from David Drew.
Legeret with a 59.4 through the middle sector.
It's good.
That's
I think
all
we're
right.
going to see an improvement from Legeret here. He's going to be the last serious runner across the line. Still got Mikkel Jensen out there, but no improvement his first 2 sector times for the international man. Here comes the number 19 car. Lost that lap earlier on in the session to track limits. A big slide from the 19 car through the bus stop.
Pushing very, very hard is the young Swiss. He'll cross the line now, and second place for Luca Legeret. Superb. Well, we expected it to be an improvement. Not sure whether either of us expected him to leap onto the front row. So still 0.6 of a second shy of David Drew's effort, but crucially he was 0.03 of a second faster than Mathieu Lehay. So those 2 positions switch. We know that Legeret and M Racing have been good qualifiers so far, with 2 to their name, 2 pole positions to their name already. Couldn't quite manage a 3rd, but certainly a front row start will do.
Top 2 rows then, Johnny, in the hands of the Norma racers. It's Real Team Racing, M Racing, 1-2, Ultimate, and Nielsen Racing's number 7 car, 3-4. Before we get to the first of the Ligiers, in the hands of Mikkel Jensen. Tellingly though, is the way these cars deliver the speed. The fastest 2nd sector of that session came from that car, came from the Ligier. Fastest 1st and 3rd sectors from the pole-setting man David Drew. The fastest 2nd sector fell to the Euro International car.
So Real Team Racing with a first pole position of the year. Their best result to this date in the race is 4th position, so every chance to improve upon that. 0.6 of a second is some statement from David Drew. Back to Luca Legeret, who left it late for M Racing, but bags a front row start. Ultimate and Mathieu Lehay will have to make do with 3rd position ahead of Nielsen Racing. That was Colin Noble setting the time, a second slower than David Drew. And the 3rd row will be Euro International, 2nd in the championship, alongside Oregon team, who've had a nightmare season really after a good start to the year and decent points. They've only since Paul Ricard scored a solitary point, so looking to try and correct that in round 5 of the season. They will start from 6th position ahead of Inter Europol. The championship leaders will have to do it the hard way from 7th position on the LMP3 grid ahead of United Autosports, RLR M Sport with their number 15 car, and 360 Racing complete the top 10. Great to see both 360 Racing cars though taking part in that session. You might have spotted that the number 5 car had an all carbon engine cover. That's because the original skin of the car was so badly damaged in that fire at the end of the Kemmel Straight yesterday. So Mathieu Lehay thought he might have bagged 2nd. It's going to have to be 3rd because of a 0.03 of a second deficit to Luca Legeret, this man. And still very, very young and very early in his career, Luca Legeret from Switzerland, sharing with Laurent Millara. We do sometimes see Jan Erlechet in that car as well for Ivan Muller's outfit, but not this weekend. And Real Team Racing deciding to go the route of a 2-driver lineup in LMP3. David Drew and Esteban Garcia are the other man to pilot that car in the race tomorrow. The 2 Swiss drivers for the Swiss team, indeed. And in a moment or two, we'll turn our attention to the LMP2 field because they'll have 12 minutes of qualifying just around the corner. But we'll also, I'm sure, get some reaction with Charlie in just a second to that LMP3 session.
Can confirm, by the way, the 31 Algarve Pro car, one of the cars that was involved in the incidents this morning we were describing earlier, will not be taking part in qualifying. No confirmation as to whether or not the team were able to fix it. Looks to me like there was work underway in the garage on the 31 car. We can see the sister 25 car there right now. But 31 car did take heavy damage this morning. I'm not expecting to see the 28 car, the EDEX Sport car that was shunted in free practice 2, Paul de Chatin at the wheel of the car. Heavy incident at the top of Radion.
Yes, and a very similar incident to that befell Joop van Uitert yesterday, but well, rather than tracking back through the statistics, did we see the 26 car in free practice this morning?
Yes, we did.
I assume we did, and they fixed it overnight.
The car, when we arrived at the circuit before the weekend, the replacement chassis, they do carry a replacement chassis at TDS, had been fully rebuilt up and is ready for free practice 1. So the TDS racing team, who look after the G-Drive racing effort with the Aris 01, had done a fantastic job of rebuilding that car.
Yeah, with relatively small, little time to be available to them. So cracking job, and of course all important because the 26 crew are gunning for a championship this year, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. But David Drew, having trounced the field by 0.6 of a second, is certainly somebody to catch up with. Charlie George has made her way down to Real Team Racing to have a word.
Well, David, congratulations. That was a fantastic qualifying in your first pole position of the season for Real Team Racing.
Yeah, it's been a bit long until the penultimate race, but I'm pretty happy. You know, it's been a bit difficult at the beginning of the season, but we found something this weekend after working really hard, and I'm really happy we can celebrate this pole.
So we're expecting good things in the race?
Yeah, for sure. It will maybe rain tomorrow, so we'll see. But I like rain. We've been driving on rain last year, so we have some experience already, and we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
There's a happy young man.
Indeed.
It's a new program, of course, for Real Team Racing. So a happy young man that appears to be coming together. I'm hearing that we're probably going to be seeing those guys back again for 2020, and some very positive movement in the paddock here, as we've seen over the last couple of seasons, Johnny Palmer. I think we're going to see some new names. I think we're going to see some teams moving up from P3 to P2 next season. I think we're going to see some teams running one car, maybe running two cars next season. But it looks to me as if there's going to be no concerns at all about grid numbers in the European Le Mans Series, which has really made its mark in the last couple of seasons as being absolutely one of the endurance race series across the world. Amazing grids, astonishing racing, and the numbers just seem to go from strength to strength.
Well, it certainly for LMP2 boasts the biggest LMP2 entry in a I'm going to say domestic series, if you like, but when it's based in one single continent, you've got to choose from Europe, Asia and North America, and by far, I mean 17, I know we've only got probably 15 in this qualifying session, but 17 or 18 cars.
We've had 19 cars, remember, at Monza, where there were 19 cars. The only race that I'm aware with a lead group of prototypes anywhere in the world that's beaten that has been the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yeah.
You know, and so in P2 in particular, it's a mesmerising field, and a field of real quality as well. And it's great to see what you've got here, and not just those teams knocking on the door of championship, knocking on the door potentially of promoting themselves up into the World Endurance Championship, as one or two of the teams from last year did, but also teams that are just honing their craft here, lifting their efforts, putting themselves into contention. EDEX Sports, who we may well not see with a 28 car in this session, are one of them. Duquesne Engineering, another. Without a doubt, those teams putting themselves into positions where they're going to be race winners and championship challenges in the future. It's great to see.
Just a thought about 28. I suppose we're too late in the weekend now, and it would be very, very rude on Eric Maurice, Stefan Adler and William Cavallas to switch the numbers on that, particularly as it was entered as an Orica as well, so you couldn't then just switch to Eligier. I'm just thinking because 28 is far better placed in the championship.
I think the answer is you're right, too late in the weekend, and my guess is depends on the commercial arrangements within that team as well.
Yeah.
The fact that they carry the same team name and the same colours does not necessarily mean it's effectively the same team.
No.
That it's not just a simple matter of saying, right guys, we're going to take that job. Here you go, we've got shot of the number 28 car. Now that car on the jacks, no work going on it. It doesn't look as if they've packed it in quite yet though, does it? There's still an engine attached to the back of this that we're going to see on board. Not seen this before. He's going to lose it about here.
And it was way after the corner.
It was not the same incident as Jupp van Uitert. It was happened later in the corner. But the impact there in free practice 2 this morning, very heavy indeed.
That almost had a hint of a tyre going down after the turning point at Radion, and not used to a car snapping away that late on in the Eau Rouge Radion sequence. No doubt about the impact, which looks horrendous from the driver's point of view. It's done a lot of damage to the front. I think the car went in the back as well. So it's both ends that have been pummeled. And clearly EDEC Sport haven't given up on it yet. Well, the thing is, they don't necessarily have to qualify. They've done some mileage in free practice, and crucially that team second in the championship. They do not want to give up yet on this championship charge, bearing in mind they're only 9 points behind G-Drive Racing.
Remember again, and actually for the first time this year, it is the top 2 teams in this championship standings after Portimao that will be going to Le Mans with those automatic entries. So keeping the fight together is critically important.
Yeah.
2 things to say really here, Johnny, as we watch the cars on their out laps now. We're already almost 2 minutes into this session. Is number 1, looking after the driver in a massive hit. The level of safety now in these LMP cars is astonishing. The second thing is, it could just be minor damage that actually could put that car out. If it's a suspension point that's been pulled out by that impact, that would be enough. Not repairable here, repairable by Orica certainly, but not repairable here to put them out. And of course, yes, we've got a couple of spare chassis that have been kicking around, but one that's been used already this weekend.
True enough. And yeah, they are now running short, but that's crucial where the suspension mounting point locates with the tub itself. They're designed to be incredibly strong, but when they do break, it's so tough that to then repair that on site, and as Graham says, often has to go back to the manufacturer to have it all done properly. So we wish them well, because they were winners last time at Silverstone. A bit of a surprise winner because of a late puncture for the 26 G-Drive race leaders at the time. G-Drive still finished second, but it's closed the gap considerably, and as I say, just a 9-point advantage now for G-Drive Racing, the Russian flagged squad with their Aurus 01 from the EDEC Sport outfit number 28, and Graf are third in the championship, number 39, with 53 points to their name.
This is the 39 car. That car has had a very good season indeed. And by the way, further kudos to Graf Racing. Decane Engineering were another team that were in trouble at Silverstone with a nasty accident. Nothing Nico Jamin could do, completely unsighted, and found his path in the complex at Silverstone blocked by the cool racing car that spun out Alexander Kwani and will soon Alexander as well. Nasty injury for him. We hope to see you back. You're hoping to be back at Fuji for the WEC, but that car, the data logger, stopped working at something like 140 kilometres an hour at point of impact. Massive damage for the Duquesne car. They're running today with a replacement chassis loaned to them by the Graf Racing team. In fact, here's an odd fact, Richard Bradley, last time he drove in that car, won the last 2 races for Graf Racing as their 40 car in 2017. So something of a market at the moment, replacement chassis for Orica 07s. But as we're describing all of that, Johnny Palmer, and with confirmation on timing and scoring that the 28 and 31 have not moved from pit lane, we're getting the first times appearing at the top of the timing and scoring, and it's another new for them, Orica, that tops the times for the moment. Alex Brundle, the number 32 car, United Autosports here for the first time fielding 2 Orica chassis. We had 1 at Silverstone alongside the 32 squad still running their Ligier, 2 here with their ex JDC Miller cars here for the United States. The 32 car to the top of timing until crossing the line comes another team with an ex-IMSA car. Will Stevens and the Panis Bartes 23 car goes through the 2:01.705.
Out of La Source goes Nicolas Jamin cars in tow. Also out on track to Will Stevens now up to second fastest and the best of the Dunlop shod cars. Remember, this is a mixed category when it comes to tyres, unlike LMP3 and GTE. Got Dunlop and Michelin in play. Great to have Dunlop still part of the ACO rule set, because of course Goodyear replacing Dunlop effectively in the World Endurance Championship. But the Birmingham brand very much present in LMP2, and this mixture of Oreca's and Ligiers together with the Aurus, which is an Oreca effectively, creates some variety when it comes to the chassis. Sadly, we're missing the Dallara this weekend. Carlin with a huge crash in the last round at Silverstone, not in the race but in one of the practice sessions, which we wish Jack Manchester all the best in his recovery. It was Harrison Newey brought in as the replacement driver, but they're still working on that car because it was a replacement chassis that raced at Silverstone, and therefore the Dallara not here at all, but we are expecting that in Portugal next month.
First car under 2:01 goes Felipe Albuquerque. In the other United car, the 22 car, Albuquerque with a 2 minutes point 992, 7/10 up on Will Stevens. So up in the third position, Jean-Eric Verne in that rebuilt 26 car. 202.301, the Aurus badged Oreca. So United from Panis Barth says G-Drive RLR in the hands of Arjun Maini, who's on qualifying details this weekend. He's pitted, as has Anders Fjordbach. They're your top 6. In fact, the top 11 are all Oreca chassis at this point.
Not quite at last year's pace so far, because last year's pole was a 2 minutes point 7. We're only a couple of tenths away from that. That went to the 26 crew. So Rusanov, Jean-Eric Verne and Andrea Pizzitola, as it was in 2018, with some form around here. But the 26 car being driven by Jean-Eric Verne in this session. Let's wait to see whether he can offer something a little bit more in the remaining 4 and a bit minutes, because Jean-Eric Verne, 4th fastest, and pits actually at the end of that lap. So another set of tyres, no doubt, for the Frenchman. Likewise, Philippe Albuquerque stopping for a new set of Michelin tyres. Will Stevens is in the pits as well. Alex Brundle heading into pit lane, just out of the bus stop chicane, and Anders Fjord back in as well. There is Verne. Quality checks being done by the G-Drive Racing crew as well. And not too much time to waste here, because you're looking at over 2 minutes for an out lap, then 2 minutes for a quick lap, possibly the chance of an extra one, but once we get below 4 minutes, that chance will go.
Absolutely. Second United cars restarts its session. The 22 car Felipe Albuquerque at the top of the shop. Simon Street not yet lighting up, Johnny Palmer.
No, it's taking its time, and 7/10 of a second looks to be a large gap for Philippe Albuquerque. 1 or 2 were worried when United Autosports made the switch to a brand new Oreca. They knew that squad was going to be very, very fast. It's not the trio that we see in the World Endurance Championship. Phil Hansen, we're expecting him to do an extra long stint and possibly hand over to the Portuguese Albuquerque for the second bit. But yeah, United are up there, and at the moment, much faster than everybody else.
Yeah, it's a fair spread. There's 3 cars within the top second, if you like. It's Albuquerque, Stevens, Jamin. It's at 7 and 8 tenths respectively back in the second and third place cars here. And beyond that, over a second back. So the gaps are significant here at the moment. There's only 3 minutes to go.
Nicolas Lapierre is pushing hard though. Very menacing indeed through Pouan this time around. Lafagna as well. With running the risk of losing the back end as he came out of that corner, heading through campus as well, leaving nothing on the table here. Nicolas Lapierre.
He is a winners, of course, in the WEC race on the Sunday at Silverstone. Himself and Anthony Borga. Yellow flag at turn 18 is going to spoil this run. He will not be allowed to. It's gone green
straight away.
So he's a bit of luck there. He's going to complete this lap. We've got 2 minutes 20 seconds to go. 2 minutes point 992 is the mark. What can Nicolas Lapierre produce in the next couple of seconds? And the answer is going to be he only goes 4th. It's a 2:02 despite those efforts.
Yeah. So whatever the reason for that, I mean, certainly no shortage of pace from Lapierre himself, but Is it to do with how the car's been set up? You would imagine that all the stops were pulled out for qualifying and then it can be adjusted in time for the race. Already making a stop, Arjun Maini.
That's it done, and Jonik Verne is still in the pits as well, so that's him done too. He's not going to be any more than 5th here. Nico Jamin will do no better than 3rd.
Maini eased off in the middle sector. He was 6 seconds slower than a good time, possibly even 7 seconds slower than a good time, halfway around the lap. So was that a slow puncture that kicked in? Potentially some sort of drama which curtailed the lap. Some puzzled looks from Olivier Panis, walking after 23 and 24, of course.
Alex Brundle, though, currently sitting down in 7th, but he's gone through the first sector with a purple time, and is the only man at the moment in the top 10 to show any improvement in any sector. Something very odd is going on out there at the moment.
Well, there's no doubt about Albuquerque's pace. He was up there last year, and that was in Elysia. He was able to do a 2 minutes .9. Hasn't, well, just about matched that time now in the Orica.
Well, in sector 1, the two cars that are improving are the provisional pole-setting car and Alex Brundle in the Sister United car. But it's Brundle is the quicker of the two at the moment. It's Tola puts in a quicker time, but it's not going to put him into the top 10. It just puts him into the top 10. Apologies with that time, 10th position. Watching what's going on in this second sector, it's an improvement from Brundle of 54.9. What can Albuquerque produce? So it's a significantly better lap from Alex Brundle. Is it good enough to trouble pole position? And now it starts to light up. It's a better time as well from Will Stevens, but not matching the performance at the moment of the United cars. Across the line for the 24 car, that is Tereshchenko. He improves up to 12th and best of the Ligiers.
Brundle goes second, making it a 1-2 for United Autosports.
But by thousandths, it's a 2:01.705.
Yeah, for Stevens. So Brundle's had that time deleted then, hasn't he?
He has had that time deleted.
Although we've not had a message at the bottom of the screen to confirm that. About to come across the line now is the 22 of Albuquerque, and that is an improvement.
Wow.
It's a 2 minutes .848, so make that now an 0.8 of a second margin over everybody else.
He's all but matched his best times without improving in sectors 2 and 3. But improved his time, but just marginally in sector 1 to just edge away. It's 0.857 a second, and I think that's going to be enough.
Brundle, by the way, wasn't in a position to make use of the checkered flag, i.e. he wasn't the right side of it to push an extra lap out of the session. So as soon as that last one that could have put him on the front row was deleted, that's it. And therefore his best time remains at 2:02.489. Across the line now goes Will Stevens, does improve, 2:01.587, but he's still 0.7 of a second slower than Philippe Albuquerque. This is an awesome showing from the Portuguese, who was, I mean, let us not forget, second in last year's race on the grid. They ended up winning that, didn't they, Albuquerque and Hansen, in the rain.
Yeah.
But he set just about the same time as he did last year in the Ligier. So are we just slower 12 months on in the LMP2s? But what's happened to everybody else? That's the mystery.
It's really strange. It'd be interesting to get the feedback from the teams as to just what's going on up there on the track. I've been told by a number of guys, massive lack of grip here for whatever reason this season.
Yeah.
Here at Spa-Francorchamps, and some of them attributing that lack of grip to some of the accidents we've seen so far this week. Crossing the line to complete their run comes the high-class racing team, and into the top 10 for Anders Fjordbach.
It certainly looks very dusty on the road down at La Fagna, because that's a natural sort of corner cutting point, and cars bring dirt on from the inside of Piff Paff, as it's sometimes called, La Fagna corner. And I wonder whether that's happening at other corners too. Richard Dean there at United Autosports, I think in communication with Alex Brundle more so than Philippe Albuquerque. There's no drama in the 22 camp, more so slightly puzzled looks as to the 32, which is an Orica for this race meeting and beyond indeed. But what about Philippe Albuquerque? He deserves every credit. Busy last weekend, was he not, in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship around Laguna Seca, and coming now to Spa, a track I know that he loves. He's got his home race to look forward to in a month's time as well. The man from Coimbra in the north of Portugal. And yeah, it's another pole position to his name.
Yeah, well, in high demand, and correctly so. Felipe Albuquerque drives, of course, in the European Le Mans Series here in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with Cadillac, and in the WC now as well, of course, with United Autosports. So not very many weekends at home for the Portuguese, but stellar talent, always has been, and retains his smiling outlook on life.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance to have a word with Felipe Albuquerque, as long as he's got no other pressing engagement during the weekend, he's always happy to spend a few minutes having a chat, and a thoroughly nice guy to give you some insight as to what it's like to control one of those cars around a world-famous racing circuit. So that, for the 22, is a first pole position of the year, and of course the car switch will have something to do with that, from Ligier to Orica. And are we now about to see one or two more pole positions going the way of United Autosports?
Well, we saw at Silverstone last weekend, I think the first track session in either of the LMS or the WEC that they didn't head was qualifying.
Yep.
But then bitter luck for both the cars, both the Oricas in ELMS and WEC, with early race problems, completely different early race problems for both of them. But I know they've been through those cars with a fine-tooth comb now. Let's just wait and see what the race brings. But it's great to have yet another car in overall winning contention. You know, a good half of this field can win this race on pace. It's a wonderful thing to see.
5 rounds now, 5 different pole sitters.
Yeah.
Quite incredible in the variety that we've had. 2 minutes, .848, good enough. Well, more than good enough for Felipe Albuquerque, and a first pole position of the year for United Autosports. Panis Bartis Competition, despite Will Stevens' best efforts, having to make do with a front row start, but it's not pole. Duquesne Engineering will start from 3rd position, 0.9 of a second slower, alongside the Cool Racing gang, and that's Nicolas Lapierre. Winners in the WEC race at Silverstone in their class. Jean-Eric Verne, championship leader with Roman Rusinov and Joop van Uitert, will have to start from 5th position in that brand new chassis for car 26. Arjun Maini calling it a day quite early on and pitting after, well, what looked like it was going to be a good lap, but I just wonder whether a slow puncture was the problem there for the Indian, and the RLRM Sport car pitting early, but that car has qualified in 6th position nevertheless. Some reaction from a fraught and difficult to guess session from Felipe Albuquerque now with Charlie.
Well, Philippe, congratulations. That was a fantastic lap for your first pole of the season.
Yeah, it's been a while, and well, with this machine, United is just being unstoppable really quick. We were really quick in free practice 1 and 2. We were P1 with quite a good average, good space. But we need to get the job done in qualifying, and it was what happened, and was 2 good laps, which was enough for P1. And yeah, amazing job from United with this car, and Phil Hansen as well. So the setup was great, so let's see how it is in a race.
The luck just wasn't there for you guys at Silverstone. Is the luck changing now?
Yeah, it is a lot, but yeah, we were not so lucky in Silverstone, but we were again learning about the car. Obviously, now that the guys had more time to strip the cars apart, do exactly what they did, their normal job, because they didn't have much time to prepare the other ones. So I believe that we will now have no issues. That's what happened so far. Zero problems.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So, mightily impressive from Felipe Albuquerque, and in the last 4 years I'm struggling to find any pole position that the Portuguese has set in the ELMS. We know about his form when it comes to races. That might be a first ever ELMS pole. We'll check back through the stats in recent years, but congratulations to United Autosports, also to everyone else involved with their pole positions through the classes. And it's set to be a very intriguing race tomorrow. 12:30 start local time through till 4:30. Just 2 races to go in the ELMS, with the championships to be decided. My thanks to Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. From Johnny Palmer, join us tomorrow for the race.